Welcome to the 40 Portal podcast, a coming of aging story told by 40 real women. I am your host, Catherine Zach, and this is the first episode. I could not have imagined a better place to start. My guest today, Kate Schmieding, gives us a masterclass in being yourself. In this conversation, we talk about everything from how to be a good friend and how to make new friends in midlife, how to situate yourself in a generous loop of reciprocity so that you are both able to give and receive fully, how to take chances on your own creativity, how to create a life where you get to spend like most of your time in the places that make you feel the most seen, the most safe, and the most alive. We talk about everything from her fantastic poetry that she didn't even start writing until she turned 40, and her love of group fitness. I'm telling you, Kate is so cool. She is such a good friend. And this conversation is just the embodiment of how to embrace your 40s as your sixth sense, to not forsake yourself, and how to be cool just because you're you. Okay, have a listen. And if after the episode this resonates, which I just know that it will, can you please share the podcast with one of your real life friends who you're having these conversations with? I mean it. Send it to your book club, send it to your group chat, send it in a voice memo to your best friend. I can't wait to widen the conversation that we're having here. And you too can submit your own 40 Portal wisdom or question and have the chance to have your words anchor an upcoming episode. Okay, here we go. This is such a fun conversation. I feel like Kate is such a gift. And to be able to share this with you as our first episode, I could think of nothing better. So thank you for listening. And here we go. Hi. Okay, so I feel like you're gonna call bullshit on this, but I just want to frame and say, like, memory is shaped by like what actually happened and then like what has happened since then, right? So here's how I remember the first time I met you. So
I remember.
Yeah, so I walked into like a very bougie upstate New York Hudson Valley coffee shop cafe, and you were there with our mutual friend who I need to get on this podcast too. And when I saw you, I was like, do I know her? I think I know her. I'm not
Oh.
joking. Again,
Whoa, that's crazy.
I know. And that's
For
why I said,
reasons.
I know. Well, that's why I said memory is shaped by like what has happened since then. But I swear, when I saw you, I was like, I think I know her, or like, have I met her? And then it was also like, I know we're going to be friends kind of feeling.
What's also funny is the way our mutual friend described us to each other is like, oh, Kat, she's a writer. So is Kate. And like, no one ever has verbally described to me that way to anybody else. And so I was like, oh, I am. I dare myself to step into that and also connect with you as myself, but also as a writer. And like, I love that our friendship was built on that introduction of something I would never have introduced myself as.
Oh my God, there's so many things I want to pull the thread on here. Like, number one, we contain multitudes, right? But yes, like, writer is not necessarily like the first thing that people would know or see about us.
No.
But I think it's really important to each of us in terms of like who we are in the world.
And also the second thing I'll say about your memory, of meeting for the first time is in that moment, I was also in a space where I wanted to connect with other people, and this is silly, but I give like everyone 3 chances essentially to like hang out or connect. And, I just remember being like, "Hey, I'm gonna be down there." And, you were busy, I'm busy. And then like eventually when we connected without our mutual friend, I remember being like, "Okay, I can also be like ready for this friendship because it's reciprocal." So,
Mm. What was it, like, the 3rd strike that we finally got together, or do you remember?
oh, I think it was actually like the second point, 2.5, because we don't live close. We don't live close. So it's not necessarily that. And also, there's family, business, all those things. But I've actually continued to keep that thread in general of like meeting new people, meeting, diving into things. But I feel like we immediately were like, okay, we get that there's like chatting, and then let's just like go immediately to the deep.
Immediately to the deep end, babe. It's so good. But I wanna back up because, like, I love your 3 points of contact rule, which I think is really interesting because and this brings out something that I wasn't thinking of at the outset. Because when I see you, I'm like, "You're such a good friend, and you're such a generous friend." And also, now that I know about your 3 strikes rule, which is what I'm gonna call it, like, generosity, I think especially in midlife, is, like, can really only happen when we have clear boundaries too, like
Mm-hmm.
uh-huh. But I don't know, I think maybe people struggle with making or maintaining friendships in this, like, really busy midlife moment, but you do it
Yes.
so well. So can you tell us more?
Well, I can tell you a lot about it because I think about it often because I also want to start a podcast about friendship. And this is a good sort of platform to sort of also force myself into something scary. But I mean, I truly believe that in my 40s, what has become the most important piece of my life, because other pieces are fairly set and I've, committed and invested in them, is friendship. I really, really value connection, friendship, and all those, different pieces of midlife. But I don't think I was able to admit that to myself until I turned 40. And so, like, to me, I extend 3 different, opportunities because I have a capacity. My capacity for friendship, social stuff is capacious. And so, like, I it's easy for me. So to also say I extend myself, 3 times is to say, like, that is easy for me to do. What's hard to do is then at the 3rd time be like, "No, it's like he's just not that into you, but it's friendship." Um, so I think that's very easy for me, but boundaries also part of being 40, friendship, etc. I love giving and I love getting. I don't think that there's I don't hide behind giving and I don't hide behind getting. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Oh my god. I think that is, like, what I want on a T-shirt because it is that reciprocity, and I think I don't know, I also notice I think I am really good at receiving, like like,
No,
help,
it's not embarrassing. I don't find it
right?
embarrassing at all.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, you are capacious. I love that word so much, and I would say that friendship is something that I decided intentionally that I wanted to prioritize in my 40s, and I don't know if you felt this way, but, like, I remember distinct times in my 30s where I was like, "I just don't have time." Like, I want to have more time for my friends, and I don't have it right now, and I think it's largely because I was, like, having children in my 30s, but I
Mhm.
was probably also really preoccupied with, like, kind of the other big buckets of life. But
I
now
think
I'm like
you're
yeah. No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I think you're onto something with something about facing your 40s is also understanding your 30s. And so, like, I'm very forward facing in, like, general I love reflection, don't get me wrong. Looking towards my 40s felt, like, very exciting, but understanding your 30s is like, why do I care about friendship? Is it a social piece? Is it a status piece? Is it, all those things? And then sometimes you have kids, sometimes do all those things that make you just like blow up the whole thing. Um, but even going into my 40s, I did question a lot of my motivation of friendship in my 30s because some of it probably wasn't on the up and up. It was partially selfish. It was partially like not being able to understand when someone really just doesn't like you. And then have you balance friendship with family, your own family, meaning like your parents, like they won't care that I said this, but like a lot of my 30s was my parents saying, you care about your friends more than your family. And oh my God, my mom would love hearing me say this because, you know, she said it to me all the time. Why do you choose to go on vacation with your friends? Why are you doing these things? And you should be, you know, being with us and your family and your kids. And now I think that I can like look back and say, I love both, but I did prioritize friendship in my 30s for a lot of the wrong reasons.
Hmm. What do you think your primary motivation is for friendship now?
What I can say, also being friends with you, and what I get out of my friendships right now are that community understanding of like where we're at. Same reason you're doing this podcast, which is to just, you know, connect, laugh, cry, understand. And I'm not, you know, being gender biased to say that I don't have those friendships in my male friends. I do sometimes, and my husband. But there's just a satisfaction that comes with sameness and conflict of like, wow, this person is having such a different experience than me. I want to know more and be part of it. Also, being like, I want to get out of friendship is, you know, hype. Like, I want people to hype me up. I want to hype other people up. It's so lonely not doing that. And so, like, I think that in my 30s, you know, we could say, or 20s, you know, you could say, like, I can't wait to have a night out. I can't wait to go party with my friends and make memories and like do all these things. And that was awesome. And I will remember those forever. But at the same time, now it's like, I want to sit down and know you, not the experience of like going to Cancun.
Yeah, and I think, like, one of my favorite hangs with you is that day you were like, "I'm driving through your town. Can I stop by?" We sat in my living room. It was like we just sat for, like, an hour, and
And I
that's
could have stayed for longer, but life,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
exactly.
Okay, I feel like you've given people so much in and because you are generous in this whole conversation so far, but if you were to kinda sum it up or just give a piece of advice to someone who's perhaps not having, as much, like, luck and energy on the friendship front, like, what would you share? Like, what would you say? "Try this."
Oh, that's a really interesting thing about advice on friendship is I think it's just as much knowing um, what you do like versus what you don't like. And I'll say this, you know, this is a little discerning, but I found in the past, I don't know, 4 years, um, if you don't like pop culture, and you're not like reading, writing, watching, listening, all those different things, then I I don't know how to connect sometimes on those levels, and so, like, for me, I decided that, like, I have a few friends who can't hang, and that's fine, but I don't have anywhere to go with the friendship, so my advice is to, like, really truly identify the things that you like to do and do it, you know, that fulfill and enrich your friendships. For me, you know, the advice is also, like, I know it says put yourself out there, but that's easier said than done, right? You know, you see online like, "Hey, I'm looking for a mom's group. Hey, I'm looking for people who love musical theater." Um, it truly, truly is the place you should be if you're connecting on things you like. You know, don't be scared that you're gonna, you know, enter into a mom's group. Famously, right now, obviously, there's like a funny thing about a pop culture moms group that had a falling out, and, like, I found that so relatable because there were so many moms groups that I attended where I was like, "Oh, no, this is not for me." And I never ever took, um, offense to it. I was just like, "Oh, no, they'll live without me, and I will live without them." So just, like, be okay with that and don't internalize it, which I couldn't have done in my 30s, absolutely not. Um
You're also, like, I don't know, I think this is something I'm just seeing for the first, not for the first time, but a little bit more clearly, like, I think a lot of the relationships, certainly, like, old romantic relationships and even, like, that mom group thing, like, there's, like, a circumstantialness to things, like, we're in the same place or we're in the same era, And so we're going to connect around that. And I feel like by the time we get to our 40s, like we've all taken different paths. And so like there's more of a choice of like, oh, I actually want to like be friends with you because this is like the resonance.
Oh, you have delved into something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is why I always wondered growing up, like, why are my parents not friends with my friends' parents? Like, they're always around at the same time and we're all hanging out. And it always like puzzled me. Like, why is my mom not hanging out with my other friends' parents? Because we're all here. And then I realize now that I am a person who's aging and I have children and we're all always in the same situation. And the answer is, it's weird. It's weird sometimes to be like, welcome into my life. I have not known you. You're my friend's parents or, my kids' parents at the same time. And being like, I go to events as a parent and I'm like, oh, they don't really want to talk about what I want to talk about. And it's not their fault or my fault. But like, drop off your kid. You're not being like, would you like to talk about heated rivalry right now? And so like, I think to your point, like the resonance has to be there to at an older age enter into those things. And it it's just what you resonate with and what you don't. And so it's like solving that in my brain of like looking back on that and being like, oh, that's why.
Oh my God. I want to keep going on this, but I'm going to dive us into like the meat of the pod. Because I think some of these themes will keep coming out. So this is the 40 Portal 10. I have 10 questions that I ask all my guests, you being the first one. And they're not like rapid fire, but we'll keep things moving unless we find a place that we absolutely want to pause. Okay, so the first one is what's your name? So you could introduce yourself, just name. But I want to know, like, is there a deeper story behind your name?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my name is Kate Schmieding, rhymes with meeting, which is funny because my husband always says that he never even thought of that, and he's had his last name, his whole life. But I did not take my husband's last name until about like, I don't know, 8 years into marriage or something like that, whenever we had our kids. And so my maiden name is Kugler. But I remember very specifically that for our anniversary, maybe, I surprised him with my name change certificate or whatever, being like, I did it. I finally changed my name. Um, but also, my sister-in-law's name is Katie Kugler. So I also, when my brother got married, was like, well, we just cannot have the same name. That's too weird. So yeah, my name is Kate Schmieding, rhymes with meeting.
That's how you're saved in my phone. Okay. Okay, number 2. How would you introduce yourself if like job titles, accomplishments, resumes, labels weren't like the thing that you were organizing your identity by?
I hate this question because I love my accomplishments and I love my job titles, and I love anything that can define me other than what I actually am. So it's a difficult. This one really is difficult for me because I am an achievement junkie. So I think that I would describe myself. Hi, I'm Kate, and I am a positive person who lives in upstate New York, though I didn't always live in upstate New York. So I am a citizen of our nation
Mhm.
by living in LA, Boston, San Francisco, upstate New York, all those things. So maybe I guess location, which is not exciting because I want to be like, I'm this. I want to define myself. I'm those things. So that one's a hard one.
I think that's really interesting because I feel like this question came out of the fact that I would say like, and we're kind of like elder millennials, like we are achievement junkies. Like that's like that was in the water that we were raised on, was like this.
Yeah. And so I'd say like to separate myself from that achievement identity would take a lot of therapy to answer that question.
Which like we won't do it all here, but okay, well I'll give you a softball then. Do you want to slip in any of your things that you're so proud of?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, about 4 to 5 years ago, obviously, when I turned 40, I'm 44 almost. So, I started writing poetry, and so I would say that I'm a writer. You can check out my stuff at Pop Culture Poetry on Instagram. But I'm also a creative leader, so I'm in the world of creative operations. I am a parent. I am a, joiner. I like to join things. And so I'd say that, like, all these things contribute to myself. But yeah, I'm a parent. I'm a wife, which is so weird to say sometimes. I'm all those things. I'm
But
a
I would
daughter.
say like a joiner, like when you say that, like I like that, it's like that's not a late like that to me is like, oh, we're getting like down below the surface of the paper to know who you are. And that's the kind of stuff that I really love.
I'm a joiner. I'm a hand raiser. I'm a hard conversation haver, and not in a conflict way, but like, I've noticed that in the past, half decade of my life, admitting that I am a joiner is one of those things because I definitely had, um, I don't want to say a friend. I don't remember who said it recently, but they were like, "You just do so much. You volunteer and you raise your hand," and I'm like, I think admitting finally in my, mid 40s to saying that, like, it is a natural state to, like, raise my hand is is where I'm at.
That's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Okay, this bridges into my next question, which is will you tell us how old you are, which you just did, and how and so and the next part is and how old do you feel? But I'm also like, I didn't realize you started writing poetry when you like right when you turned, or around turning 40.
Yes, so I started it right around when I was turning 40. Maybe it was, like, 39, 38, maybe in there. I had, um my brain was just starting to want to, uh, emote, I guess, and we'll get a little woohoo here. But I do think that there was a moment where I started to open up myself to ideas and concepts. Meaning, like, silly, but I was in my gym class. I was in a workout class that has dark lights. You don't have your phone. You're sort of stripped down to, like, working out. And I just, like, looked around me and I was just like, this is alchemy. This is magic that we are all in the same place at the same time. And, like, I'm experiencing sweat. My heart rate is up. My brain is functioning. I'm not, like, attached to my phone or computer. And I actually have no value judgment there. I think I have a pretty healthy internet self life. So I'm not like, that's not a judgment. I don't have my phone. I'm like, well, no, I don't have my phone. And I also like having my phone and I can have both. But so I started writing poetry around that age just because I was, like, looking around me and wanting to just be like, hey, everybody, wake up. This is so great to be alive and with everybody. And it was while I was working out. And so my very first poem was about my gym, because that was the moment with which I felt like I was, like, struck by lightning and able to just, like, express myself in those ways. So I am turning 44. That's the age I am. How old do I feel? Oh, that's so interesting. So I think there was a lead up question to, like, the context of this podcast saying, like, I don't mean to steal one of your questions if you ask it later to get ahead of myself, but it's something that's been marinating, which is like, what did you think about the age you are at before? And I feel really lucky because I came in my 25 to 35 years in a city. And so, like, everybody I saw turning 40 was just, like, young and, like, in their, like, flow state. And so, like, granted, I went from living in a major city to living in a very small town. Um, but I'm able to take that with me. So feeling 44 or being 44, I feel 44 because I was not scared at all of turning 40 because I watched everybody do it around me in San Francisco and do it, like, with power. And so, like, whatever narrative other people have, because again, location, um, I saw everybody do it like ain't no thing. So I'm trying to give that to the people around me because I received it and, like, never looked back.
Oh my God. I almost have like no notes on your entire answer, but there's also so many things I want to dive into. So, one is the alchemy and the magic of your exercise class because I mean, okay, and this is like my labels, but I mean, I teach yoga and meditation and I run a yoga and meditation studio. And like that, what you articulated is like every time I go to work, and that's honestly part of why I quit Big Law. I was like, this is so much better. There's so much like human beingness happening. And the fact it's kind of like when you go to a concert, like, and you're just like, these people, this moment, this music, this whole thing will never happen again. It's magnificent.
Oh, I mean, and I was a theater kid, so, like, never did sports. I, like, would never call myself an athlete. I would never, put myself in any of those categories. So to be in a situation like that where I felt welcome, just, like, pushing myself, all those things, and, like, watching you the few times I've been able to come and see you lead that type of, environment is also magical because it takes such a type of person to hold everybody, but also hold yourself and then, thrive in the situation. You don't have to show up every single time like, I am rare, I'm here. But you find something different every time you're in a community that has a mind body connection and you're able to sort of like maneuver between other people and yourself. That's why, like, I made my husband build a gym in our basement in COVID, and literally the day I stepped into anatomy, I was like, "Sorry, I'm never going back to that." And so, like, poor Sean, but because it's still just sitting there, a gym in our basement.
Sell like
But,
given
like,
on a Facebook Marketplace or something.
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing about it is, like, these spaces are so much different than I had judgment on,
Mhm.
honestly.
I love what you said too about, like, being able to hold the people and then also being able to hold yourself, which I think is also just, like that's, like that feels like 40s to me too. Like
Yes, because 30s, I'm not doing that. I don't need to hold anybody. I need to, like, focus on me.
yeah,
But yeah.
and, like or I think actually I was trying to hold everybody in my 30s, like, I was really, like, holding my children, people pleasing, like, very much, like, putting other people's needs and their expectations and opinions of me first. And now I will say, like and you use the word discerning, which I think is, like, also, like, comes like, it's one of the delicious parts of entering midlife is, like, that ability to discern. But I see now that I am very drawn to people and kind of only have the capacity to relate with people who, like, can hold themselves.
Whoa, that is, like, so 100% it because, that phrase, like, you can't love somebody until you love yourself, which is one of those, like, things that people say all the time, but once you really understand it, you really understand it, and then you can see it in other people. And so, like, you know, another 40 portals thing and, I firmly believe that's why this is a great podcast for me to be on, that there is a 40 portal. Like, I believe strongly, that, like so I think of it as and I say this again, like, I this is based on almost nothing, that, like, when you're a baby, you can see you start seeing this much in front of you. You start seeing this much in front of you. Then you see black and white. Then you see color. And so, like, I do think that there's something in our chemistry, something in our DNA from like 38 into 50 being like, oh, I see myself, I see you, I see bullshit, I see not bullshit. And to your point of like interacting and holding and being with people who can hold themselves, it's like I'm not sitting there worrying about you and like not that I think you got it, but I think that looking at somebody and being on the same level of like, you're gonna deal with the bad stuff just as much as you're gonna deal with the good stuff is like everything, honestly.
Mhm. Mhm. I don't think it's based on nothing. I mean, that was beautiful, and it's based on your experience, and I think we do this as women where we're like, "I'm not an expert." And, like, we know so much, and I would agree, like, I definitely felt the portal opening. Certainly, like, I remember the day it was a month before I turned 39 because I was at another friend whose name is Kate, her 39th birthday, and I was like, "Whoa." like, I don't know, it just felt like that day I was like, "Okay, I don't know. It's open. I'm here. Lots is changing."
And I also think, in terms of like an actual portal or vortex, being able to have an intuition that you follow, have a gut, trusting those different things is, different in your 40s now. I've n I am focused on my 40s with no idea what my 50s will be. So that is like, a different frontier. Um, but I think that like my favorite thing about, you know, this portal idea of like seeing into yourself and seeing into others is leading by example. And like, I manage a team with multi-generational, older, younger than me, all of those different things. And it's meaningful to me and such a interesting time in our world to consistently show people that I am not done. And so like I am part of sort of also generational storytelling group sometimes. And there was a woman in her 80s who just came out and knocked us all off our seats and like had a great storytelling, she was so cool and interesting. And, you know, I loved sitting there and being like, oh, I still have so much left and I am not sitting down.
I'm gonna
And
keep
neither
us
are you. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep us moving because you're like
Yeah.
getting to all of my questions, and I'm like,
Sorry.
zing, 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 zing. Yes. Okay. So, like, you already answered this. This is what is one narrative, one script that you were given about being a woman at the age you are now? And does that map onto what your life actually is?
Yes, yes, 100%, because I was in San Francisco, you know, 28, 32, somewhere in there, watching my coworkers turn 40 and having me be like looking at them aspirationally and saying like, "Oh, this woman Sharon that I'm, like she's sort of my mentor at the time and, she's, you know, reluctantly sometimes guiding me into these roles at work." And I'm sitting there thinking like, she's so cool. And like, I can't wait to be cool. And so like not, I reluctantly say right now I'm cool, but I feel cool because I feel like myself. I feel, all those different things. And I don't want to walk around being like, I'm so cool. But like, I feel cool. I feel like me.
But you just said, I feel it. Yeah, I feel so cool because I feel like myself. I'm cool because I'm me. Like,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
I
So
re- I I recognize the cool in me as the cool in you.
I love that. That's so good. That's so good. Okay, so then what is one thing that your 10 years ago self would actually be surprised to learn about you today?
um That is a good question, because would that be, like, 34, which I believe is when I had my first child? Well, yeah, it has to be. My child's 10. So, yeah, that's 10 years ago. Um, actually, I'd say that the answer of that is, that my parenting is, true to myself. And so it's the same through line of, like, you are sort of always yourself and always those things. So I think my 34-year-old newborn mom person would be so surprised to learn that everything you set out to value in your parenting and family, you have stuck to. You've been back and forth on it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't like, you set out to say, I want to bring my kids and have them travel with me and do all those things. And like, for the most part, we've done that. Has it been easy and fulfilling? Not always. But it's one of those things that I'd say like my 34-year-old new mom, newborn person who now has a 10-year-old can say like, I'm driving around town with my kid, listening to Ariana Grande singing at the top of my lungs. Like I'm making it exactly how I would have wanted. Will it be that way in 10 years? Maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I often think I'm like, I think I'm getting this part right, but I'm like, I'm definitely fucking them up somehow. Like, I wonder what they're going to tell me that is.
Oh, I mean, my kids are gonna be there's the only like permission I'll give to anybody who says, am I fucking up my kids, is like everybody is fucked up. The end.
Yeah.
So like I don't know one typical person who can't like look back on their childhood and be like, well, that was kind of screwed up. So like, you know, I have many things that I've done wrong and I'm am able to go to my kids sometimes and be like, sorry I yelled at you, but you deserved it. But also sorry I yelled at you.
Mhm. I have those conversations too. I definitely we've talked about this, like, in other contexts, but, like, yeah, sometimes I find myself growling at my children.
Yes, yes. And you know what, though, at the same time, like, I think that our parents were just not under the same microscope of, like, behavior. And so, like, I look back and I'm thinking, like, yes, they weren't perfect. I'm not perfect. But at least at the time, they didn't have people being like, well, I took a video of you or I did this. And, there's definitely more receipts to be had for our parenting than our parents' parenting.
Totally. Okay, number 6, where do you feel the most seen, most safe, and most at home in your own body? I feel like I can guess your answer, but you tell us.
The gym or my poetry, honestly. Because I definitely don't try to be something I'm not. And I say that in a way that I feel very seen in the way that, like, I like to admit to myself, and this is part of being 40 also, like, you can do things because you want to. Like, there is no other reason that you need to be doing things than other than I like it. And so, like, people say, where do you feel the most at home? And it really is my writing too, because, you know, to describe my writing and check it out, is sort of to, I'm not like Mary Oliver here being like, let me like cure war with my poetry. Let me do these things. And like no, I want to talk about messy top knots. I want to talk about what it is to parent, what it is to be perimenopausal, but like in a funny way, in like I want someone to read my poetry and go, huh. And like that's my, ultimate reason for doing it. But I'd say like I feel most at home in my writing, at the gym, and like, in my friendships.
I love that. I want to say a couple of things. So I'm not gonna tread lightly, but I don't want you to take this the wrong way or
I
whatever.
never do. I never do.
Um, and like what you said, like again, that's the second T-shirt is like I can do things because I want to do them,
Yeah.
right? Oh my
Yeah.
God, so good.
Yeah.
And like I was thinking about this as I was preparing for our conversation today. I'm like, Kate's poetry is as good as anyone's poetry that's like famous on the internet, because there's actually a lot, like I think you're similar to like a Kate Bear, like women on the internet who have like become super famous for their poetry, which like I am so I love that. I love that. And I actually remember discovering Kate Bear in like 2015. And it's
Oh
like
yeah, I
this
love K-Bear.
like, so good. And so I think your poetry is as good as all of these women who have, like, taken off, and, like, where I feel a kinship with you too is, like, I am doing my creative work in the world, and it's, like, to such a small but beautiful audience, but, like, that doesn't stop me, and, like, I don't think it's definitely not stopping you either, like, this is again, like, I want to say, like, this is all with admiration and love that I'm saying this to you, like.
I think that like one of the beautiful things you've given me is the rope to be delusional sometimes. And like, what is your most like delusional moment that you could put yourself into and like and like describe it? And just for the listeners doing this, it was just in a conversation maybe over a year ago, or maybe it was under a year ago, where you know before that conversation, I would have said, number one, I just do this because I like it. And it is true. And, I also don't feel like it's criminal to dream beyond it, but I don't use those moments of dreaming beyond it to stop me from doing it all. And so, like, there's pockets of like ambition that I can sometimes be like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if I was Kate Bear? But in my 30s, I probably would have been like, well, it's all done because I can't go I don't have an MFA. I don't live in a place that's important, all those different things. But like being able to hang your hat and say like, I wrote a poem this morning and I just really liked it and I wanted to share it. And it made some of my friends feel the same way, like, is enough for me at this moment to keep going. And so, like, thank you for saying that because I was in a situation maybe like 2 summers ago where all of these elder poets called me a Hallmark poet and, like, definitely, tried to diminish whatever I'm trying to do. And I took it to heart for like 2 weeks, and then I was kinda like, "Well, it ain't for you, and guess what? Not everything's for me." And so, like, you know, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Oh my God. Oh, I wanna have a whole all a million conversations about this because I do think we live in an era where, like, we see a lot of the success and also, like, again, Kate Bear, and also you're not Kate Bear, you're Kate Schmieding, rhymes with meeting. Um, like, it's not like there's okay, this is a concept that I'm playing with a lot. It keeps coming to me. It's like, I'm not an overnight success. Um And, like, I don't know that any of us are, but we live in this era that, like, we see this, like, the overnight successness of things, and so we get a little not good delusional, but bad delusional that, like, that's the whole point or whatever. And so to exist in your art, like, below, before, beyond that idea of, like, it has to hit, but still maintain the possibility.
What I like to do is picture it sort of like a song, kind of, meaning like my creativity and ambition is a low hum. And I don't mind in the low hum, I just want to keep it in my everyday practice, kind of like, those different ways. I want it to grow. I want it to crescendo. I want it to, be sustainable. And so in those ways, I don't like subscribing to overnight success as a goal. Am I open to it? Absolutely. But, to compare myself to others and say like, well, this person got this deal and this person, did all these different things with their writing work is to say that like it's it's the end goal when it's like not. For me, the end goal is just like exploring topics, exploring emotions, connecting with other people. And if it happens to like give me an income someday, what a blessing. If not, I still have every single day of my life to get on the paper. And I think for you, having sort of talked to you about different projects you've been exploring, whether it's been like um, you know, fiction writing or, meditation writing and this project. What I think I've seen the difference of those things in this thing is you wouldn't be here without all of those half starts. And so like those half starts, they're going to be there when you're done with this. And so like this truly feels like, I don't want to say a calling because that invokes some sort of like spirituality that I'm not connected to, but this project feels like it has your full attention, and I know what it's like to split my attention.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Oh gosh, we could have another episode about that. But like the whole thought that I'm having is like I'm not an overnight success, but I also don't feel like a late bloomer. Like and I think this is to your point too of like all the stuff, the process of it, the just going through the work itself is the point. And like
I'm
I've
late
been
to
doing
nothing. I am not a late bloomer either. Like,
yeah,
I've been
like
blooming this whole time, my friend. I just haven't given it a name.
I'm gonna mock up t-shirts from this episode. Okay, I
Yes.
want to just pause and talk about this delusional thing because you sent me a list. I had to put my phone of you texted me on my birthday and you said,
Oh my God, yeah.
"Yeah, usually for people's 40th birthday, I send them 40 reasons why I love them," which is like crazy. And then you said something like, "I've only known you for like a year, so here's 10." Which I was like, "Love I love so much and so many things." But you said, um oh, number 3 was you're a dreamer with a tinge of delusional energy, and I'm here for it. And I just like I it's like one of the best gifts I've ever gotten. So I'm just gonna just needed to say that.
It's very funny because was in a situation maybe, I don't know, maybe a few months ago where somebody was like telling me about one of their projects they're on. And I was like, all right, be really delusional. And I tried to give them the exercise you gave me of like stepping into like your local bookstore and seeing your name on something. And they could just like not do it. They could not do it. And when I asked them that question, and it was just like, they didn't know how to respond. They didn't know how to do those things. And I was like, oh, they're not ready to indulge themselves. And so like, I'm excited to eventually ask them the same question, a few years later. But like, I don't think that indulging yourself in fallacies of whatever, like, makes me feel bad if it doesn't happen. So, like, it's yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I like
makes me
that.
feel
Oh,
good.
God, I love that. Okay. I'm gonna take these more like rapid fire because we could talk for 6 hours. Okay. I don't even know if you'll have an answer to this. What were you supposed to have done by now?
Mm, I don't know, honestly, because I feel like the things that you're supposed to do, I did them.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is still ahead of you?
What is still ahead of me, is I just wanna write a book. I wanna write a book. I do wanna write a book. I was started playing with a poetry book. Now I'm on this fiction project that I'm super excited about. What's ahead of me is I wanna write a book. I want to, raise my children. I want to be healthy enough to raise my children, and, I want to continue to, grow with my husband, partner, Sean, and, discover different pieces of ourselves and aged together, hopefully, not on the air. But I want to give myself fully and receive other people fully.
That's like the second time you've come back to that give and receive. Oh, that's really good. Hmm. Okay, what are you learning to care less about as you get older?
Oh, that is conflict. And I say that because, like something that I was really bad at in my 30s that I can say genuinely is sitting with something. And which is funny because let's sit together. But like I was really bad at sitting with something in the moment and being like, I'm so mad right now at something and I'm just going to be really impulsive about it. And so like I'm getting better at letting go of conflict, being like, "I'm so mad right now, but I'm just gonna sit here and repeat to myself, 'You're fine. You're okay. You're gonna get through it. This is just a momentary feeling. Move through it, move through it.'" Like, physically repeat out loud to yourself that you're gonna be fine, and then maybe it will be fine. And so, like, I'd say that's the answer.
Okay, what is your current growing edge? And by that I mean like, yeah, what are you working with? Where's the friction? Where do you feel like there's like lessons that you're moving through or fears that I don't know.
No, that's so present because I think that, like, what I am really focused on and I keep coming back to it, is reciprocity. Meaning, like, I have set sort of a tone. I don't mean resolution, I don't mean a goal, but I really only want to be in spaces that are reciprocal. And I say that because, definitely confronting some of situations that I was in, both friendship and work and all those other things where I'm giving more than I'm getting was starting to really put me on edge and make me tell stories that aren't true, and do those things and sort of also make it about me, which doesn't have to be about me. Like I'm not performing to my potential. I'm not doing those things, and so like my edge right now is like getting uncomfortable in ways to say like if this person isn't hanging out with me after the third time, like set it aside, dig it a little grave, give it a little, flower pot, put it right there. It's not gone forever, but it's gone for now. So I'd say that's probably it.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I feel like you've already answered this, but the bonus is how did you feel about turning 40? You definitely answered this, but if you have anything fresh, I have to replug in my heating pad. Hold on.
No, you're fine. I'd say, just like how I felt about turning 40 was excitement. It was also in the pandemic. So like I think I turned in 2021. I can't even think of it like right now what the actual year was. But you know, for my husband's 40th, when he turned 40, we like had a huge group friend trip. We all went to Mexico and we called it Schmexico for Schmieding. And so like I was so excited to turn 40 because I really wanted that to happen. And it did end up happening just in a different way than I had thought because of um turning 40. But I think like the best thing about turning 40 was all of my friends turning 40 at the same time too. And so like, I did a trip to Florida with my friend Natalie where we like made stickers and we had fun and everyone had t-shirts and all of my friends came without their children who had children. So there was probably like 20 friends and all of their children at home. And so like that was the first time that like we all left our children to like have a fun weekend turning 40. But then it was also just about turning 40 and like celebrating other people. And it was like so fun to do it. It was like popping champagne. Even though at the core, I think some of my other friends had more anxiety about turning 40 than I did. Also, I watched my husband do it. So it was kind of like, I'm always gonna be 5 years younger than this guy. So, I'll always feel young in that way.
That's interesting because I feel like I had a lot of close people to me also turn 40 right around the time that I was turning 40. And it's funny because these were adult friends, like friends I made in adulthood, not even just like, oh, the friends that I'm still in touch with from growing up. Like, so that was really interesting. I was calling it the back half of 1985 because it was like from like May to December. December, it was just like, whoa, I had like people that I talked to like every day, like turning 40 that I've met in my adulthood. It's really
Well,
interesting.
I have a question, and I feel like in a podcast here, the interviewee is not supposed to ask you a question.
No, ask me.
But when you like had people sign this sort of like book and was that a spur of the moment thing, or had you been thinking about it, or like where did that come from?
Great segue because we're going to move into the 40 portal wisdom right now. Yeah, see, like the whole genesis of this podcast is this notebook that I'm holding in my hand, and I would say, like I said, when I turned 39 or right before I turned 39, I was like, ooh, and like, listen, I self-reflect for a living. So this isn't strange that I was like going into a deep year of self-reflection, but it was intense. And I was both looking backwards and forward. And then a couple weeks before my 40th birthday, a friend of mine, Becca, who I hope to get on the pod, her birthday, she's a new friend. Her birthday's 2 days after mine. She was turning 42. And so 40 as well. Like we both were turning 40. Not 42,
Yes,
40.
comma as
And
well.
yes. And we both started voice memoing each other back and forth, like really intensely asking each other like big questions. And at some point, we called that the portal, the 40 portal. Like at some point, we just started referring to this exchange. And so I had invited all these women to the wine bar in our little town the night before my 40th birthday. I was like, I do want to have a party. I just want to sit there and hold court and have only women. And this was me also realizing that I wanted to value friendship, female friendship in my 40s. And like that was the nod. I was like, well, I want to celebrate with these women. And so like the week before that, I was like, I'm also going to bring a blank notebook, which is where I do my morning pages, my handwritten practice every day. I was like, I'm
Which
going to
is
bring
so
a blank.
admirable.
Thanks. It just keeps me sane. That's my therapy. Um, but like, I was like, I'm going to bring this notebook and I'm going to ask women to like sign my yearbook, basically. And I went back and forth. I'm like, this is kind of embarrassing. This is kind of silly. Am I really bringing like a collective communal self-reflection project to a wine bar on my 40th birthday? Yes, I am. And that's me. And then I was like, commit to the bit of being yourself. Like, this is who you are. This is what you do. And I realized, and also with this podcast, I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it. Like, if I gather all these wonderful women into one place and don't ask them to sign this, I'm going to regret that. If I don't spend the rest of my 40th year having 40 conversations with 40 women in this podcast, I'm going to regret that I didn't do that. So in each episode, because then I ask people to keep sending me letters, and like the handwritten part of this is so key to me. And so people have been mailing me their letters, and like I will link in every show note because you got to keep mailing them in so we have enough fodder for the podcast. And I just stapled people's letters into the notebook. Maybe we'll outgrow it soon enough. But in each episode, I just want to open it and like eh, have us discuss one of these pieces. And the prompt was twofold. If you were under 40, I really wanted to know, like, what are your open questions? What are your longings? What are your fears? What are your desires that you want to put out into the universe? And maybe we'll like get some info back for us to share. And then if you were over 40, I was like, I want your wisdom. Like, I want to know what you've learned and earned and burned. Like, it can be short and sweet. It can be sexy. It could be serious. Like, I'm here for all of it. And so people started writing things. I mean, the stuff in here is wild. And it's like exactly how we started the podcast, which is like here for the deep end. Like I'm just here to be in the deep end. So every episode I'm going to pull out a piece, whether it's a question that someone submitted or a piece of wisdom, and you and I are going to talk about it. But you know what I'm going to pull out is your submission.
I don't even remember what I wrote. Okay, this is
Good. I'm going to read it to you because you wrote me a poem. So this is in the 40 portal. It exists in the 40 portal. And because you are over 40, I think this is your wisdom for sure. It's just in the form of one of your beautiful poems. So I hope I do this justice. It is called 40 is Your Sixth Sense, a poem. You start to see with your ears and listen with your belly. You begin to taste with your touch and smell with your eyes closed. Your intuition expands into a full-bodied clarity, revealing a new lens to recognize what you already knew, but can now know. Like, really know. Like, trust makes a sound, or love is a soft surface, or forgiveness is a forest where you sit to summon the spirit.
That's so crazy because I wrote that and I didn't even like save a version for myself because I wanted to have it be fully yours. And so the crazy thing about that and hearing it back is that like I love connecting to something I truly believe right now, which is that like being 40 is your sixth sense. I said it before of just like you start to understand and you start to like see things that you already know. And, you know, just this idea that you've always been there. You've always been you, but you get to experience it in a new way and develop it in a new way is so meaningful to me personally. So like, yes, I mean, my advice is to not forsake yourself for some different version of yourself that you think is new and reinventing. It's like it's always been there. You know, similar to the picture that I sent you is like, I love that picture because it is exactly me. It's making a face I would still make. It's, you know, just brimming with energy. And so like hearing that poem back is exactly the, you know, wisdom I want to share with everybody is just like, don't don't forget who you are because you're still always you. Oh, I loved hearing my own work.
I love that. I mean, I loved reading it and like, damn, you are embodying like the invitation you're giving to us all. It's like, I'm cool because I'm me and I've always been me. And this is me remembering me. And I know, and I've always known. And now I know. It's so good.
And you know, just to kind of bring it full circle to the beginning or when we were sort of just warming up about the picture and I was saying that like I love looking at pictures that are old because I love remembering them, but like to have to for a moment clean something from it is a different like position to be in, even just for a few minutes. Meaning, like, I had to look at pictures of me and be like, "Oh, these are funny. Oh, these are not funny," or like, "I have a funny haircut," or you know, all those different things. And like, pulling that picture from asking my mom was just like such a refreshing reminder that when I am truly myself and when people are truly themselves, you should always honor that and hold it.
Well, you are truly yourself. It is an honor
Yes.
to know and hold you. And I just thank you so much for
No,
being
thank you.
the first guest.
I
Mm.
can't wait to celebrate it.
I'm going to put all the places where people can find you in the show notes.
Yes.
And I know that they will go looking for you because you are special and you are cool.
I agree with that, and honestly, like, I'm so excited to see where this goes and also, like, hear what other women have to say and
Oh,
other
me too.
people, and, like, I don't know what to expect, and I'm excited to see it.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so much more to come. Just enough for now. What a fabulous episode. Oh my goodness. Okay, before you go, I have an invitation for you. If you're thinking after listening to this conversation, wow, yeah, I'm definitely in a portal. I am gathering a small group of women in real life together this June in the Hudson Valley. The very first portal retreat will take place June 17th to the 19th. 3 days to be in your portal, to sit with your own story, to write and tell your own portal story, to get the tools, to do this inner work in community with other women who are deeply committed to the bit of becoming more and more themselves. Space is limited and the portal retreat is already filling fast. To learn more, visit the40portal.com/retreat. See you in the portal, babe.